Introduce? No, we don't have to introduce.
No, you can.
To present Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ayalon, good friend, enthusiast, and first of all to thank him that he spared the time to come to sit with us now and also for lunchtime. So with no further ado, please, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Yigal, and thank you very much for all of you to come here. I think this is an exemplary action here which unites government and NGOs in a very, very, very special mission to defend Israel. And when we talk about defending Israel today, it's not just protecting our name, because we see this very, very dangerous tendency and the slippery slope that all our detractors trying to take us. It may start with BDS, right, the boycotts, divestments, sanctions ideas, and of course bad cover, let alone trying to define Israel as a war criminal, its leaders, its soldiers, its commanders as war criminals, and pretty much to take us to this very, very unwanted areas of pariah states. They look at the Kosovo or the Belgrade, the Serbia example. They look at the South Africa example. And today they have a mission. And we have to understand, and when we talk about they, generically, it's basically Palestinian motivated. And when I talk about Palestinians, it's not only Hamas. It's also, unfortunately, what we hope is our partner for peace. It's also the Palestinian Authority that is very much dedicated to defame Israel and to put an extreme pressure on Israel and compromise our national standing and our national security. Today we know that standing in the world, the political warfare, is replacing actually the warfare on the battlefields. If they tried to take us on militarily and they couldn't, and then economically and they couldn't, and with terror and they couldn't, now the front is the political warfare and the legal warfare. And we have to understand, first of all, identifying the problem, that we are facing a very, very dedicated enemy who is also very sophisticated, who is also now using technology, internet, Facebook, and many, many other things, using NGOs in a very, very sophisticated way, and a large network. Once we identify that there is a dedicated campaign against us by a whole network, then we can group or regroup and counter it. And my bottom line is that to counter it, to re-legitimate Israel or to fight delegitimization, we need also to have a network. And by network, it's not just the government, not just in these issues of public diplomacy or hasbara. The government is not the most effective. There are many, many other issues, social issues, economic issues. I look, and now I just put a parenthesis here, I just deviate from the main subject that we're all here gathered for, but I see that in the 21st century, I see that the best way a society can take care of problems or tackle challenges is by a whole community, that is government, business sector, and the third sector or the NGOs together. And I don't want to belabor too much about that, but this is, I've seen it in Aliyah, how NGOs in Aliyah can lead in a way of innovation, of being agile, of dedication, and then the government follows suit. So in many cases, the government today should be in a supportive role in terms of maybe finances, in terms of information, certainly in our case. But I can tell you here, we cannot do it alone. The government cannot do it alone. The foreign ministry cannot do it alone. The embassies abroad cannot do it alone. First of all, because there is an inherent nature of bureaucracy, which is, for good or bad, which is less agile than other organizations. And secondly, because we are the subject of discussion. So when an Israeli ambassador goes out and talks about, attacking Israel, he's expected to say that. So the credibility or let's say the listening or the attention scope may not be as effective as when someone else says it. Of course, for us, the best would be a non-Israeli, a non-Jew to say that. But I think that more effective than Israeli government officials are Israeli citizens, Israeli NGOs who are not, let's say, being suspected of having a political motivation. So this is why you are the elite force of Hasbara. You are actually our force multiplier and probably the most effective in terms of Hasbara. I think our job in the ministry is to make sure that all the information is available to you. And this is what we're trying to do. But the rest must be yours. I can tell you that also from the innovation, technological point of view, we're also trying to use the web. For instance, tonight I'm going to have a webcast, a special web interviews on live one, online of course, with Facebook users all over the world that Igal Caspi's and Shacham and Igal Caspi's division organized. My chief of staff, David Siegel, which is here, who also was a legendary spokesman of the Israeli embassy in Washington, also was the first one to arrange for me, when I was in Washington, an interview with a blogger. David, what was the name of it? Instapundit, yeah. And this was the first time an Israeli official went to interview with a blogger, and there were 2.5 million hits or something like that, or participants. So we are trying, maybe not as quickly, but we are trying to move ahead, try to be ahead of the curve, but it's very difficult, but at least to try and be and join you in the cutting edge. But we will discuss later also, of course, the practicality of, synergy of how we better can work together as a network, because it needs a network to be the network. And there is a network against us, and we will have to have a network, even it's not official, it's not hierarchical, but we have to understand, all of us, the mission and how important it is. But before that, I think the message should be, and this is a critical message, from a political standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, for a diplomatic standpoint, for a practical standpoint, is that two things. If delegitimizations will continue, it will be an obstacle to peace. Delegitimization is the enemy for peace. Why? For a very simple reason. If you try to paint Israel into the corner, there is no incentive whatsoever for the Palestinians to move forward and to negotiate. They believe, and they still do believe until this moment, the Palestinians, that somebody else will do the job for them. So this is what has to be understood by all those peaceniks, whomever. Many of them have good intentions. Not all of them are very much versed with the situation. Many of them are, idealists that are being manipulated by those masterminds of delegitimizations, whether it's in Gaza or whether it's in Ramallah, and they're using, or whether it's in other places in the Arab and the Muslim world, and they're using their hubs. London is a big hub. They're using NGOs, human rights organizations from the United States all over. And so we will not be able to reason with those who try to fight us. But I think the word should go out and to reach every organization which is supposedly an objective one, whether it's Human Rights Watch, whether it's other ones, whether it's the labor unions, what should labor unions, for crying out loud, whether it's in the United States or whether it's in London, have to do with the political fight that we have here, or with this real big national struggle that we have here with the Palestinians, or academia? It's important because not all of those professors, not all of those human rights activists actually know what they're doing. So first of all, of course, we have to give them the information and the history and all that. But it's very difficult because today, in a very fast world of sound bites, it's very difficult in a sound bite to explain the inherent right of the Jewish people to our land, or that actually it's the Palestinians or the Arabs who denied us peace now for generations. It's very, very difficult. So we'll have to find a way to do it whether it's in blogs or other ways, but at the same time, we will have to reach to those who are in the middle of the road or those who are being manipulated and telling them, first of all, what are the facts. We'll have to find some more, I think, more innovative ways to deliver our message in a concise way but in an effective way. And secondly, to tell them that they are being manipulated. And in effect, what they're doing is, if they're all idealists who want to see peace, actually they're pushing peace further away by defaming Israel. I think this should be a main message. And secondly, what I see here is that the Palestinians, and by the way, it's not just in the issue of delegitimization. I can see it from day one. Day one, 1994, that's after the Oslo Agreement, Arafat, with 100,000 of his people, came here to build the Palestinian Authority, which was an Israeli creation with the international community of the Palestinian Authority. And we see it, and we can prove it. Again, now we don't have the time, but we can have a whole dissertation about it. From day one that Arafat landed here, instead of being dedicated to building a Palestinian homeland or a Palestinian state, he is dedicated to destroying Israel. Instead of building a nation, they're dedicated to destroying a nation. And this also somehow has to be, in a impressive, in a convincing way, has to be delivered internationally. So I think this is our main challenges, all of us here. And we are here together. And we are here very much appreciative of what you're doing. And I want to stress again, what you're doing is much more effective than what we are doing, because we are paid to do that. So it's much more impressive, it's much more convincing when you're doing it. And as I said, it will take a whole community to do it. All of your organizations here, and I don't want to mention, I know all of you, and I appreciate very much all the organizations here and all the people here. It will take the ministries. It will take other organizations. So I think we'll have to kind of multiply it by others, whether it's Christian organizations, whether even, I don't know if we know of any moderate Muslims, but we'll have to use everything that we can in the media, in the web, in the academia, everywhere we can. So people will understand it, and I think this will be our challenge for some time to come, but it's an uphill battle, but I don't believe we should give it up, because I believe we can win this battle. We can win this battle, just that we won battles that were at most odds against us in many other fronts. And here, I think it's important, I think, to let you know about my meetings with the founder of Human Rights Watch. Rubinstein, was it, David? Bernstein. A very, very impressive fellow. Now he's like 86 years old, but he's sharp as a tack. And he told us about the whole human rights movement. What was the motivation to build it? If you remember, it was in the height of the Cold War. And the idea of human rights groups and Human Rights Watch was twofold. First of all, was to investigate closed societies, totalitarian societies, societies which do not have free press, which do not have free organizations and NGOs and free academia that can check themselves. This was the main thing. And secondly was to deal really with human rights issues, whether are minority issues or women empowerment or child abuses, things like that. What do they do today? They don't deal with that. They don't deal with closed societies. I don't see really Human Rights Watch working in Saudi Arabia or Sudan or Cuba or Venezuela today or North Korea. They don't. So they have actually they are betraying their ideal of closed society, of bettering the life in this closed society. What are they checking now? The United States, Britain, Israel, on supposedly war crimes. When Israel and the United States and other countries are very much equipped to investigate themselves. We have free press. Nobody disappears here if he is critical. So this is one wrong by this human rights society today. And the second one is that they have put themselves as judges or referees or whatever you want to say it in areas of conflict. They have no qualifications to judge areas of conflict. They have no military background. They have no military experience. They don't know the discipline. And in order to check an area of conflict, you don't come with the human rights aspect. You come with military experts to do it, and also with legal experts of military background. These are 2 points that Mr. Bernstein told me, which were really illuminating, which I think are very, very powerful. And I think this message also should be out to all those organizations, which, again, I don't want to let's say, a priori, to suspect their motives. But maybe, as I said, they are being fooled. Maybe they are being manipulated. Some are not, I know. If Human Rights Watch today is being financed by Saudi Arabia, then there is a foul play there. But many others maybe not. And those are the ones we need to reach. So again, my call to you is be patient. It's a long ride. We will be there for you, and I know you will be there for us. And the solution is in this cooperation. As I said, that we will, and we should continue to meet and find ways for better communication, for better message, for better delivery, and also to try to be ahead of the curve, to understand what would be the next battle, because they are not going to stop. Unfortunately, as I said, what I see here now, that the Palestinian leadership is not so much concerned about nation building as they are concerned about nation destroying. So they will continue to be very, very creative and innovative in attacking us in the political world, in the diplomatic, and in the legal world. So this is the fight, and our objectives are very clear, and I believe we do have the tools. We do have the tools, and we can develop more tools. And again, here the Foreign Office is for you, for us, and we very much appreciate what you do. We want to thank you very much, and I look forward to lunchtime when we can listen more to your take, to your impressions, to your ideas. So I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Danny. As I mentioned, and thank you for the people of the press. From now on, it will be an internal discussion. Thank you for your attention. Talking about press, one of the, I don't have to tell you that one of the main arenas in which we are fighting and where the conflict is going on is